You mentioned China. What can China tell us about this? Because on one side, they're a manufacturing powerhouse, but on this other side, we started hearing about all these problems they had with their real estate market and the banking. What can we learn from China? What's going on?
I'm disappointed in China's not preventing the housing prices from going up by imposing a land tax. And the reason it hasn't is it's part of the Beijing's letting the localities all be responsible for their own growth. How are the localities going to raise money to operate and expand their economies? They've leased their land to building contractors. The building contractors have got loans from banks, and the China has followed the American model in financializing its real estate and letting more and more real estate being bought on credit, and the increase in the land market price has been bid up by the banks. House is worth whatever a bank will lend it against it, and as banks lend more and more, as you see in Australia, the housing prices go up. And China has not made an attempt to change its relations between the central government in Beijing and the localities, so that there's revenue sharing with the localities, so they don't have to make their money by selling off land, tenure rights, meaning rent extraction rights, to contractors. There's not much, I haven't seen much discussion in China of this, what's causing this this rent increase. I've tried to do it and have not got much of a response there.
And I also wanted to ask you, you said central banks are one of the worst developments in financial history.
Yes. The role of central banks is to take money creation and financial regulation out of the hands of the national treasury and run the regulation and money creation policy on behalf of the commercial banks that are members of the central banks. Central banks work for the member banks, not for the treasury, and hence not for the purposes that a national government would hold to increase the prosperity of the overall country. You're right, central banks are the problem. I had an article on that on America's central bank, and I'm writing a book that'll be published in January on exactly how this has occurred.
But so, what's the logic behind having central banks? Why did they originally want to get, it out of the hands of the treasury?
Simple. The logic is to impoverish the population on behalf of the financial class. That's the logic. We can get rich. If we take power away from the government, we can gain control of fiscal policy, of financial policy, and we can make ourselves rich at the economy's expense. That's the logic, and it's worked.
So when people say it's about monetary stability and controlling price level, that's all bollocks.
Meaning, don't default on the debts, keep paying the debts. Stability means keep polarizing, keep starving yourself. That's stability. Stability will be reached when 80%, 75% of Britain's population disappears. That's stability.
Right.
And so, would you think it's the same also for the European Union and the euro? With
Yes,
this?
absolutely. The euro is even worse. So, just look at Germany.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Like, why is Germany a bad example?
What's the first stability that European leaders want? Stability is support from the United States. The European Union is subordinate to NATO. So essentially, the European Union is a NATO Cold War policy its role is to fight Russia and now China as well, to be an aggressive force. So the stability is preventing democracy. The stability is if there's a reform policy that's against the Cold War, like the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, ban it. If the voters support elect a politician against war with Russia, as Romania did, cancel the elections. That's stability. Stability is maintaining the race to the bottom. Don't interrupt the race to the bottom. Don't interrupt the polarization, because that is where the trends are all leading. Don't interrupt these trends. That's where history is moving. It's part of nature. It's the survival of the fittest. That's the rhetoric that shapes the consciousness of voters.
It's interesting that you say that, the European Union is a almost attachment of NATO, because here in Europe, they really try to tell us that these two entities are completely different.
Of course, if they can make you believe that, then you won't see what the problem is.